Hi. We're glad that you hit that button, that you watch these when you can. We hope that you get a little deeper understanding out of the scriptures, out of where we're at in the season. We're a little growth in your faith. So thanks for being a part of this. First, before we get into the meditation, announcements this Sunday, the 30th of January. We will be having candy bar bingo and a potluck after our second service. So that could start as early as 11:30 or later. We hope that you can be a part of that, and we look forward to seeing you if we can. So we continue to be in the season of Epiphany, this season of revelation, this season of light, this season of finding God's plan in Jesus. Last week, you might remember that we had Jesus coming to his hometown right after the wilderness experience of 40 days. After he has shown his faithfulness, he comes to his hometown of Nazareth. He goes to the synagogue. He makes his mission statement in front of his hometown crowd. And at the end, he says, in your hearing, this has been fulfilled. So this week, we continue to be in that story. And if you'd like to look it up, it is Luke 4. The fourth chapter of Luke. We're about the 20th verse here. We find the crowd's reaction now to Jesus' mission statement. And this reading, as you read it, it has a lot more questions than it really has answers, and questions that we really can't find answers to. So after he has this mission statement and he sits down, right? The gospel reads that the crowds were amazed, right? But we don't know if it's a positive or a negative amazement, right? It can be either one. They say, isn't this the son of Joseph, right? It could be an amazement thing like, wow, look at this hometown guy done good, right? Or it could be, isn't this Joseph's son? Who does he think he is? Right? So we don't really know. And then Jesus gets into this, I don't want to say argument, but this discussion with the crowd, and he seems to be an antagonist. It seems that Jesus is antagonizing the crowd. Why is that? What's the purpose of Jesus doing this, right? And then the crowd gets really mad, as if they weren't mad before. We can't really tell. They get mad. They take him out of town, out towards a cliff, and their intention is, as Luke tells us, to hurl him off the cliff, to kill him, to put him away. And then the last thing we read is that Jesus just walks away. So what's going on here? Why is the crowd so mad? Why is Jesus being an antagonist? Why aren't they just embracing this mission statement of the year of the Lord's favor, right? Of bringing sight to the blind, of releasing all the captives, of proclaiming the good news? Why aren't they rejoicing in that? Well, one of the things Jesus says is, he's not going to do for them what he's done for other people. He's not going to do in Nazareth what he's done in Capernaum. So are they mad that he's excluding them, or are they mad that he's including the other people? Grace can be offensive at times, right? Grace can be threatening at times. We don't have any control over grace, right? We can't tell God who deserves grace and who does not. God has this freedom to do with grace what God chooses. Thank God that God gives us grace, right? But we're not always willing to thank God that God gives others grace. that God includes those that we do not. In Western society, we have this notion that we hold on to that we're special, that we're chosen, right? That we have extra favor. And I'm not sure that's scripturally true. I don't think we're near as special as we think we are. But what gets me, as I read this, and with all the questions that surround this reading, the questions of particularities, what's the generalities that we can get to? Well, there's a few words that stand out to me. One is assumption. Right? The second is expectation. The third is participation. We, like the crowd, sometimes make assumptions. We often make assumptions, right? We assume things about other people. But our assumptions are based on our experiences. They're based on our faith. They're based on our life. They're based on what we understand life to be. And then we put those assumptions on others. Right? The crowd assumes that Jesus is Joseph's son, right? Jesus assumes that he's God's son. So then once we make these wrong assumptions, we make wrong expectations. Right? Our expectations of the other are based on our assumptions of them. So then they have these expectations of Jesus that are wrong because they don't assume correctly who he is. And then when our assumptions and our expectations are incorrect, it's at that moment that we create this us versus them mentality. And then we fail to participate fully with grace when it comes into our world. So this is the meditation, right? It's taken me a while to get here. I understand that. We thank you for listening, but this is my question. What assumptions are you making about other people that you could rethink, right? We often have assumptions about why the poor are poor, right? Do you think those assumptions are correct? We often have assumptions about why people are single, right? Why there are single parents. We assume we know why they're single, right? Could your assumption be incorrect? Could your expectations of other people be wrong? Okay. So I'm just inviting you to a time of contemplation, of thinking about the other and thinking about them from maybe their perspective instead of yours. Then maybe. Maybe if we can correct our assumptions, maybe if we can correct our expectations, that maybe we won't want to take the other out to a cliff and throw them over. I'll end it this way. So they take Jesus off to the cliff to hurl him, and the gospel says he just simply walks through the crowd away. This is what I read in that. We can reject grace, right? We can withhold grace from others. We can say no to grace, but we can never stop. That God will extend grace wherever and whenever God wants, regardless of what we think, regardless of what we do. And we thank God with great gratitude that God extends grace. We'll see you next week.